Well, hello everybody. This is CERT Instructor Ron. Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on right now with the hurricane. Okay, so I've already had people asking me about going down there and helping out. Now, really depends on what you mean by that definition. Do you want to go down there and do search and rescue? Do you want to go down there and just do whatever? Do you want to help people? What is it exactly you want to do? Do you want to run supplies out? I mean, do you want to help clean up? I mean, there's just a lot of things that are going to happen. That's a progression. So the first thing you have to do is really get things organized, figured out where they're at, damaged areas. They'll do a inventory of everything, more or less an intelligence operation, if we want to call it that. They're going to find out exactly what's going on, what the hazards are, and they'll start bringing some people in. Now, most of the people they're probably going to bring in, they're going to be pretty well trained, maybe specialized in things like putting electric lines up or recovering floating propane tanks or whatever. Now, for the average person, what can you do? That's a really good question. So, a lot of it's going to depend on your background and your training. If you're somebody that's got some extensive search and rescue training, for example, then you could participate in those type of activities most likely. But if not, you don't have, like back here, the helmet, goggles, and the right PPE and the right training. It could be cumbersome, so you might impair some of the things going on. Now, I know there's some people going to go, well, look at the Cajun Navy. Okay, those guys are on their own, but I'm talking about working with emergency management. What you have to remember is that insurance is involved many times, so they have to assess that liability. So one of the things that we learned, and I'm gonna go back to this book to kind of give you an example. And what this book is wide area search, and it's of course it's put on by FEMA, and it tells you right there the people that kind of behind the design of this book. So if you want to read, if you can see those sections there, they kind of want you to go through and assess the tasks that you've had, but also the people, and make sure that you have the right equipment, the right people to do the right thing. So the question is, do you fit in there? Now, during courses and things like that I've taken in the past, sometimes there's a term that we use, or that's used, and it's called SUV, and that stands for Spontaneous Untrained Volunteer. And that might be somebody who shows up, absolutely has no training, no experience in any of the areas, but they're willing to help. And so, fortunately, there's good people. Again, the whole reason that CERT came about, believe it or not, was because a lot of people got injured trying to help their neighbors. So the idea was if we can get people out there, get them trained that can help their neighbors, they're going to understand how to do what we call 360 around a building, understand that we don't go into certain buildings with a certain amount of damage, even if there's people trapped, because now we're rescuing somebody who may cause the rescuers to need it to be rescued. So you never want to get into that circumstance to where now you're tying up resources that should be helping people. You've got to go rescue these people. And that's what you look at. So if you want to get involved, find some sort of technical skill that you have. Maybe you can operate a chainsaw. They're definitely probably going to need chainsaws. There's a lot of different things that you might be able to do. So show up and be willing to do those. But when you do show up, make sure that you have the right gear. So, for example, I remember working the Moore tornado. There was an individual that was driving a Bobcat bulldozer or something, and they showed up with the gear, but the guy didn't have a hard hat, so I had to give the guy my hard hat. Never saw it again, no big deal. I've got plenty of hard hats, but long story short, these are the kind of things that happen. So you want to make sure that when you do show up, that you're dressed the part, and that would mean durable clothes like blue jeans, good boots. I'd recommend a long sleeve shirt for sure. You're going to be doing things potentially mosquitoes, reaching through things. You never know, but make sure it's light, and a hard hat. That's just some of this stuff. So you might want other things like bug spray. We've talked about some of these things. So just go through and determine what those risks are in your area and be prepared to deal with them. So if you show up, you at least show up with the right PPE and talk to emergency management. They may find something for you to do, but just don't jump in and start doing something because you could be getting yourself into a high risk situation with some dangers that you're totally unaware of. So one of the things that we do is we go through and we assess all the dangers in the areas. It could be, and I mentioned this before, it could be a zoo and now there's wild animals running around. We had an incident here in Oklahoma where some tigers got out after a tornado. So we joke about it, but it happened. So these are things that you need to take into consideration. Realize that by jumping in and not having the right protective equipment, you could find yourself in a lot of danger. So, what can you do? Well, I would contact somebody in emergency management. There's going to be a place for volunteers to sign up. There'll be organizations looking for people. Get a hold of those people, see what their requirements are, and you can find a place to help. So that's my advice. There's Red Cross. There's a lot of other organizations. Contact them and see what you might be able to do, and work with an organization that knows what they're doing, and do your part with them so that you can support them and work together as a team and accomplish much more. So that's my advice. Get involved with some organization. Maybe it's animals you like. Maybe it's handing out food. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, get hold of that organization and work with those people. So I want to thank you if you want to get out there and do something, because the volunteers are the people that make all the difference in the world. I'm a volunteer. I've got a lot of training. I'm a ham radio operator, but I'll do whatever it takes. If it means passing out water, taking notes, whatever. And that's the attitude you want to have. So I want to thank you if you volunteer. Have a wonderful time and be safe. And remember to like and subscribe.